Welcome to Beyond the Powerline Road. Today I want to spend a little bit of time with Proverbs and some of Solomon's remarks. And his remarks are really kind of impressive with chapter 3, but the part of the chapter that I was most interested in starts at verse 13. Happy is the man who finds wisdom and the man who gains understanding. For her proceeds are better than the profits of silver, and her gain than fine gold. She is more precious than rubies, and all the things you may desire cannot compare with her. Length of day is in her right hand, and in her left riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life for those who take hold of her, and happy are all who listen or retain her. You know, what's interesting about Proverbs chapter 3, verse 13 and on, is that wisdom is referred to as a female. And the Hebrew language is very interesting because every noun is identified by gender. So you can have male and female nouns, very much like Spanish, but every noun can be interpreted that way depending upon how you're using it in a sentence or how you're discussing it. And so when we think of wisdom, it makes sense that the word wisdom is gender female in the Bible. Why do we think of that? Because of the fact that when Solomon used wisdom, he was leading and nurturing a country. He was nurturing a nation, if you will. So when you think about nurturing, of course, you think of how a mother nurtures her child and raises her child in proper fashion, in proper way, and that makes so much sense that we are looking at a female noun in this particular case. In Spanish, the word wisdom is a feminine gender, just in case you guys are interested. Solomon's time, everything was patriarchal. Everything was patriarchal. So what happens is you have the king, which is always going to be a male, and you have the father-led families. So nurturing concepts are truly associated with women. Cunningness are concepts, and concepts of aggression are associated with men. So it makes sense that we look at these verses in Proverbs chapter 3 and realize that they are not a mistake, that we look at wisdom and we use the pronoun associated with it. For her proceeds are better than the profits of silver, and her gain than fine gold. So in other words, you're going to benefit so much more from wisdom than collecting silver and gold, than working your fingers to the bone to try to build up a stockpile of money. So wisdom is truly associated with success because of the fact that you have to be wise in order to think successfully. So in the next few lines, you'll find out that it's almost as if Solomon is referring to wisdom as a lover. And I want to be very careful with this because of the fact that Solomon is just referring to her in the female noun version of wisdom. In other words, he's dealing with the gender female version. But listen to the next paragraph or next verse. She is more precious than rubies, and all the things you may desire cannot compare with her. So Solomon really realized the preciousness of wisdom, how absolutely incredibly precious wisdom was. And when we think of precious things, we do think of, wow, how precious was it that we had a good mother? How precious is it that we have a wonderful wife? You know, we do look at it kind of from a gender concept sometimes, and wisdom was precious to Solomon. When he asked for God the ability to lead the people well, and God granted him wisdom. How precious is that? Now, I won't go into the fact that Solomon loved women a little too much, and towards the later ends of his life, he sort of forgot and threw wisdom out the window. But wisdom at this particular stage, when he's referring to it in Proverbs chapter 3, he refers to it as something that's very precious. And then in verse 16, he said, length of days are in her right hand, and her left riches and honors. So if we approach every day wisely, we increase our chances of surviving. If we approach business ventures wisely, we increase our chances of being successful. So length of days are associated with how wisely you approach the days, and your success may very well depend upon how wisely you handle your business affairs. Continuing verse 17, her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all of her paths are peace. Wisdom gives us peace. Wouldn't it be nice if all the rulers of the world were wise? You know, this peace that we have with ourselves may even be peace that we can allow ourselves to be with others. So if we have wisdom, worldwide wisdom, we would probably hedge towards worldwide peace, because leadership skills are better served by a wise leader. So what's most interesting is the last verses of it, which is verse 18, but I'm going to talk about two significant trees in the Old Testament. We have the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and we have the tree of life. And Solomon suggests that wisdom is man's tree of life. So if you remember what happened to the tree of life, when Adam and Eve sinned, they were drove from the garden. And in Genesis 3:24 says, so he drove out the man, and he placed a cherubim in the midst of the garden of Eden, and a flaming sword that turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. Adam and Eve no longer were allowed to access the tree of life. And so we see the tree of life later on in the book of Revelation. So the tree of life is something that we will see if we continue to be wise in the Lord, if we continue on the right path, if we continue to lead a Christian life and do not divert ourselves off the path permanently. But interestingly, verse 18, back to Proverbs, she is a tree of life to those who take hold of her, and happy are all who retain her. Solomon refers to wisdom as the tree of life. And we kind of go back to verse 13, and which is the beginning of the ones associated with wisdom. It says, happy is the man who finds wisdom, and the man who gains understanding. If we seek wisdom, if we seek godly wisdom, and we gain understanding, then we are doing what the Lord expects of us. If we go to Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15. See then that you walk carefully, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Therefore do not be unwise, but understand what the will of the Lord is. And it continues on and it says, be filled with the Spirit. And it continues on and it says, and I'm on verse 20 now, giving thanks always with all things to God the Father in the name of the Lord Jesus. And then it says, submitting to one another in the fear of God. So if we are wise, we are understanding what the Lord asks us to do. We are walking in the footprints of Jesus. We are filled with the Spirit. we're giving thanks always. So, in summary, be judicious. Be suggestive. I'm sorry, I lost my word there. We'll go with be judicious, be prudent, be wise in the Spirit, and appreciate the fact that Solomon warned us, or not warned us, but provided us the ways to the Lord. The ways to understanding is through wisdom. Have a wonderful day and enjoy a very wise life.